Good evening. On a dramatic day and night in the Middle East, I'm Aaron Darman. We're breaking into our weekend programming with rolling coverage as the United States and Israel attack Iran. And as we go to air, this is what we know. US President Donald Trump says major combat operations have been launched to crush Iran's military, eliminate its nuclear program and bring about regime change. Israeli authorities say Iran has since launched retaliatory strikes, with explosions also seen in Qatar, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates. There are reports that a US naval base in Bahrain has been struck. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and President Masoud Pezeshkian are believed to have been targeted, but according to local media, both are safe. With me now in the studio is Diana Skye, who has already been providing updates on the hour across the afternoon and has extensive experience covering the Middle East. Good evening. Good
evening, Aaron. Absolutely a chaotic day here today, but even worse in the Middle East. That's right. I did spend quite a few years reporting from Tel Aviv. I was actually caught the first time Iran ever sent a ballistic missile into Israel. At the time, I believe only a Palestinian girl died or was injured. I can't really recall correctly, but it was scary. At one point, you had, first of all, the fear of the Israeli authorities. First of all, there was this ridiculous amount of shopping. There was no more water bottles in stores. You need to understand there was this fear because here you had one of the strongest militaries in the world, in the Middle East, saying that they're powerful and all. I'm talking about the IDF, and then when the attack actually happened, because Iran did strike Israel in a 12-day war last year. And this is the first time that Israelis themselves really saw what Iran could actually do. So, with the fears that have mounted, and now Israel and the United States, of course, together did decide to strike Iran. And Aaron, it was from all my Israeli sources that I've been speaking to throughout the day on and off air. I'm hearing many similar reports as to that Israel had planned this attack for this surprise attack, quote unquote, for a while, for many months. For
quite some time, despite the Geneva talks, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, how significant is, in your mind, what we're seeing play out in Iran today?
Well, listen to me, this is something that actually, if deemed successful, but by successful, I mean to wipe out a regime where over 90 million people live. That's not going to happen overnight. And this is also something that many of our guests and analysts have spoken about as well today, right? But now, if successful, this is going to change the entire situation, the geopolitical situation of the Middle East. Because here you are, it's not just about Iran that's caused a lot of harm, right? Or the poison of this region. We're talking about Iran that has funded the Houthis, that has funded Hezbollah in Lebanon, that has funded Hamas, who all seem to be enemies, or were enemies, or are enemies of Israel. But before the Islamic Revolution, Aaron, Israel and Iran had normal ties. And now also, Iran, of course, in retaliatory attacks, strikes U.S. bases in the Gulf states. So now, whether they want to or not, they're involved now in this war. And so, of course, it's clashing the entire region. But hold on, that's not just it. Then we have the South Caucasus. We have Armenia, who shares a border with Iran. Then you have Azerbaijan, right? You have Turkey that's also there. So this is definitely something on a much wider scale that many of these countries want to avoid. But what will happen? We have
so much to unpack. We've also seen reactions come in across the day. So what have you heard?
Absolutely. Well, Aaron, we begin with Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski, who says that the staff of the Polish embassy in Tehran are safe. Sikorski also says that only a few Poles register their travels to Iran in the Odysseus database, which enables consular services to be provided to Polish citizens in emergency situations abroad.
I have just finished talking to the head of our embassy in Tehran. Its staff is safe, and only a few people are registered in the Odysseus database, mainly those with dual citizenship. Together with our allies, we are monitoring this very serious and extremely complicated situation.
Over in Kyiv, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says that the U.S.-led strikes give the Iranian people a chance to actually rid themselves of the terrorist regime in their country. He added that the Iranian regime has been providing Russia with drones and that the United States must stay determined to weaken global criminals.
Iran has also provided other weapons to Russia. In total, since the start of the full-scale war, the Russians have used more than 57,000 Shahed-type attack drones against Ukraine, against our people, against our cities, against our energy infrastructure. Other nations have also suffered from this terror. Therefore, it is fair to give the Iranian people a chance to rid themselves of the terrorist regime, to free themselves and to guarantee security for all nations that have suffered from terror originating in Iran. Our position is clear, and Ukraine has made it known many times, including recently. It is important to preserve as many lives as possible. It is important to prevent the war from expanding. It is important that the United States is determined, and whenever there is American determination, global criminals grow weaker.
Now, in a video on his social media platform, Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump has formally announced his intention to annihilate Iran's navy and ensure that Tehran never obtains nuclear weapons. Let's listen.
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms, you will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered, don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that challenging days await the citizens of his country, insisting that the attack aims to end the threat posed by the Iranian regime.
A short time ago, Israel and the United States embarked on a joint campaign, Operation Roaring Lion. The aim of the operation is to put an end to the threat posed by the Ayatollah regime in Iran. At this time, the IDF is attacking targets of the oppressive regime, Revolutionary Guard installations and bases, and together with the United States military, ballistic missile sites that threaten both Israel and US forces. This operation will continue for as long as necessary.
Now, of course, Europe is also reeling over these developments in the Middle East, so I want to bring in our defence correspondent, Zuzanna Jurek from Brussels. Zuzanna, good evening. So what's the message been from leaders today?
Good evening to you both. Well, I think we should start with the latest developments that we've seen emerging in the last couple of hours, and that is primarily the President of the European Commission, that is Ursula von der Leyen, stating that she will convene a special security college on Monday. Now, of course, we don't know what the actual meaning of this is or what the leverage of this will be in this big picture stuff happening in the Middle East, particularly that the EU is not the decisive player here. But we can expect that this body will serve potentially to coordinate the diplomatic responses that the European Union will be seeking to put forward. Now, we have seen, however, some leverage being executed by European countries, that is primarily Britain, France and Germany, the E3, following the communication from whom we've seen the UN Security Council be convened under these special circumstances. Now, additionally, we've seen that the united front that the European Union maintains and holds in this situation, in this escalation, is the urging for maintaining the diplomatic dialogue with partners in the Middle East, with the US, with Iran, and ensuring that this escalation does not undermine the principles of non-proliferation with which the EU and the US have been advocating for. Additionally, we have seen that the messages or the responses from certain EU member states have been fairly divided, with some choosing to condemn the escalation and ensuring that this latest development does not obstruct the application of principles of international law. But at the same time, we have seen others, including the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who have condemned the US and Israel leveraging these initial strikes as well. Now, we know that the main thing that the EU will strive for, assumingly in the coming days, in the coming hours, is ensuring that the civil rights and international law are being stuck to, as well as ensuring that ongoing dialogue can be facilitated to the extent that they can participate in it. Back over to you.
Susanna Jurek in Brussels, thank you so much for your time. And back here in Warsaw, Iranians living in Poland have gathered for an anti-regime rally and to express their support for the US-led operation. Kazimierz Wysiak was there.
As we are witnessing history, the United States and Israel launching strikes in Iran, this represents possibly the biggest opportunity for the Iranian people to topple the regime and regain their freedom. And this hope is echoed all across the world by Iranians living abroad. We are here in Warsaw, and some of these Iranians living here in Poland have gathered to be together on this day. Let's talk to some of them and see how they feel. Hi, can you tell me, how are you feeling today?
Oh, I can't describe my feelings. In the morning, I woke up because of the situation in my country and my brother missing and so on. I take medicines to be able to actually survive. So I was sleeping a bit longer. I woke up and I opened my phone and I saw, okay, they already started. And I called my friend here and she was so happy and everybody is really happy. Now it's time, after the attack is finished, for Iranian people, for us to go on the street and take over the control of the country ourselves.
So you think you can be free finally?
Yes, we all think that's the time. Yes, thank you. We are really thankful for the support of President Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, because I was there, I witnessed with empty-handed. We cannot win. If they have to, they kill every one of us, single one of us, just to stay in the power. So it's a humanitarian conflict, and we support this, and we are really happy about this.
All right, thank you so much. So as you can hear, the Iranians living outside of the country are really happy with the fact that the United States finally launched these strikes. So they are hoping that after all these years, they can finally be free once again. From Warsaw, Kazimierz Wysiak, TVP World.
Right, joining us now to break all of this down is TVP World's Editor-in-Chief, Michał Broniatowski. Good evening to you, sir.
Hello, good evening.
So you're in Dubai as we speak, where explosions have been recorded on the ground over the course of the day. What is the feeling like where you are?
Well, it's all quiet here. I was traveling today to the city center. All was quiet. People are normally walking on the street. This explosion, which has been reported, I just happened to pass by that place on the way back to my hotel, and definitely it didn't look like a hit from by a drone. It rather looked like an explosion of gas bottle or something like that. A very small building in front of a large hotel was in flames, but it was not destroyed. So I doubt it was an attack in which drones were involved.
But Michał, let me ask you this. Good evening to you from me as well here. Now, is it safe to say that tonight what we're seeing is the Middle East at war? And how different is this strike on Iran different from the other ones that we've seen previously?
Well, definitely, it's we can see that the targets that are reportedly that are used by Americans, they are attacked by Americans, are different than in previous attacks, which were only at military installations or in locations of some people they wanted to destroy. This time they are apparently attacking strategic oil installations, and apparently they were also trying to hit Ayatollah Khamenei. We will see. It's better not to theorize. We will see what happens. Mr. Trump a few months ago said that Iranian nuclear program had been obliterated. So I don't know what's happening now. If he says that he wants to re-obliterate it, it's really funny. So I'd rather agree with those who are suspecting that this is the attack on Iranian regime in order to get rid of it.
Why, in your mind, do you think that the United States and Israel, of course, did strike now? I mean, we've heard Donald Trump talk a lot about dominating the Western Hemisphere. So why did he feel the need to step in here? And is this a case, I guess, of striking while the Iranian regime feels vulnerable?
Oh, well, you never know what's in the brain of President Trump, but there was no particular reason, because there were some officials in the U.S. who were saying that within a week they will have a nuclear bomb. How do they know that within a week? So it's if you want to be cynical, you can say that both Netanyahu's and Trump's ratings are falling, and then it's always good to have a nice war abroad. But again, this is cynical, what I'm saying. We will see what happens, and then we will be able to give more comprehensive and really educated comments on it. So far, we can only say that rockets are flying.
I mean, rockets are flying, but apparently, Michal, the Israeli military had this all planned out for almost for a month, if not more than that. And at the same time, I mean, you had all these talks that were going on in Geneva between the United States and Iran. So let me ask you this. What exactly was the point of those negotiations? Well,
if you want to attack somebody in surprising way, to get him unexpected, it's the best way. Also, mind you, they did it on Saturday morning, which is Jewish Sabbath, and it was during the daylight. Local time was 10 o'clock in the morning, so they may have hoped that Iranians would be unprepared, unexpecting the attack. This together with these talks in Geneva. But on the other hand, if somebody sends two aircraft groups, which cost billions really, to the area, one would expect that this rifle will fire in the end.
I want to ask, of course, about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. How do you see this impacting the conflict, especially as we know Iran is such a major military backer of Moscow?
Well, I think it's Russians have long been independent of Iranian supplies of Shahid drones. They are now producing their own drones. So this is just another example of how helpless is Russia. It couldn't help Syria. It couldn't help Iran in the previous bombing. It cannot help now. it couldn't help its proxy man in Latin America, President Maduro of Venezuela. So I think this is really devastating for the image of invincible Russia, which is one of the results of the wrong decision by Mr. Trump to wage war against Ukraine.
Mihailo, but is there a risk, though, that, I mean, the United States is now turning its eyes away from Kyiv more and more, and now that its focus goes and leaves Ukraine more isolated than before?
Well, you know, if you look at last year, since the President Trump came back to power, you cannot turn your eyes from Ukraine more than Trump, that America under Trump did. Americans are, trying to convince Ukrainians, not Russians, to start peace talks and so on. And they are really, when they point fingers on both countries, they are really helping Putin. And I don't think anything will change. Maybe the only thing which will change is the attention of the world towards Ukraine. The same thing which happened over 2 years ago when Israel was attacked by Hamas on October the 7th, when the eyes of the world turned to the Middle East. But since that time, and they moved back towards Ukraine. Now again, the world is talking about nothing else but the war in Iran. We'll see what happens, but I don't think the Ukrainians will suffer more from very strange behavior of the United States.
Should Europe have any economic concerns as a result of what happened today, or what is potentially going to happen over the coming days? I mean, our reporter Kazimierz Szwyszek was doing the numbers, for example, when it comes to LNG exports. In Poland, for example, about 10% of the country's LNG imports, about 2 billion cubic metres coming from Qatar. Is turmoil or unrest or indeed conflict in the Middle East a problem for Europe?
I think the main problem would be the increase of the price of oil, which would mean good news for Moscow. But in terms of gas from Bahrain into Poland, in order to transport it to Poland, you probably need to transport it for 1 month or something like that. So I think it's during this time Poland may find some solution to any shortages. So every war is very bad for the world, and Europe is not very far away from the conflict. But I'm sitting now in Dubai, and as I said, it's really quiet here, and no panic. The only thing is that the airport is closed, and I'm supposed to take my flight next Tuesday. I'm afraid that I will have to spend a bit more time here. In fact, no problem, because the weather is nice and warm.
Well, Mihailo, let me ask you this. Have you had a chance to speak to residents there, and I mean to see their reactions? Do they think that this is actually going to bring in the Gulf states into a war that they don't want to be involved in? Let's not forget, of course, about all the U.S. bases that are present in the region.
I have very little contact with locals, because first of all, the hotel is for foreigners. And I drove to the center to visit a museum of the future, which is also visited only by tourists. So Nobody looked concerned, really. People were very interested in watching what's there in this fantastic museum. The roads are clear, even in this place where we witnessed this fire on the way back to the hotel. There were not even traffic jams. People were passing by. There were, of course, fire brigade was on the spot, but traffic was not stopped. And I don't know what inhabitants of Dubai would think, but it doesn't seem that anybody looks very much concerned.
Michał, what about Israel? I want to ask you this. Do you think that this time around Israel, with the help of the United States, is actually going to be able to fully topple the regime of the Islamic Republic in Iran?
Well, it's not going to be the US or Israel. The only force that can change the power and rulers of Iran are Iranian people. And in fact, President Trump called on them to take action and take advantage of the operation and topple their top leader and his regime. So it will be supported, if at all, if it happens, it will be supported by this invasion or attack by Americans and Israel, but it will not be them who will be toppling the regime.
And what if it all backfires, Michał? Then what? What do we see as the day after?
Backfires on what?
If this entire operation between Israel and the United States actually backfires, and then, we have, instead we see strengthened hardliners in Tehran, then what happens?
Then, you probably cannot have more bloodthirsty regime in Iran than it is now. They managed to kill several dozens of thousands of people on the street because they were only demonstrating against their rulers. So, all these regimes of the world are not forever. They are sooner or later everywhere. They are collapsing, and in the end, Iranian regime will also collapse. Well, if not now, then in future. I'm really sorry for the nation of Iran, for Persians, but if they don't try to do something about it, nobody will do it for them.
TVP World's Editor-in-Chief Michał Broniatowski, thank you so much for joining us from Dubai.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michał.
And that's all for this special edition here on TVP World. Diana Sky, thank you so much for joining me at the desk.
Thank you, Aaron.
And much to watch over the coming days and weeks. I'm Aaron Darman. Good night.